Of course. Of course. The Tennessee Titans decide to have the introductory press conference with their new GM, Mike Borgonzi, on the day that I usually release my episodes at 5 p.m., 6 hours after the fact, so it'll look like I was just being lazy. Well, guess what? No, that's not how I'm going to be. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to record a video tomorrow after school before church, and I am going to talk about the press conference out of pure spite. Anyway, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I'm your host, Micah McCamey, and oh man, yeah, no, the introductory press conference was today. If you were curious, for Mike Borgonzi, he did it with Chad Brinker for some reason. I don't know what that's about, but anywho, we're not talking about stuff that's going to happen in the future. We're talking about right now on a Tuesday night in the middle of my bedroom. So I've had this video planned for a while. It's just that a lot of chaos happened. Rand Carthen was fired. Then there were GM candidates circling around, and I was just thinking, don't really need to do anything about this until stuff is settled down. And yes, I am doing this right before the introductory press conference for assistant GM of the Chiefs, former at least, and now new GM of the Tennessee Titans, Mike Borgonzi. But still, I need to talk about this because I don't know if I'll get a chance to because of how much chaos is happening with the Titans organization right now. So here's what I'm doing. If I was the GM of the Tennessee Titans, what would I do this offseason? Now, obviously, that's probably not a question that many of y'all were asking. Y'all were probably asking about other bigger content creators about like what they would do in the off season. Not me. I'm just some couple hundred subscriber YouTube channel. Like, I'm not that big. So, like, I don't know, but like still, I want to get my opinion out there about what we need to do in free agency and in the first two rounds of the draft. I'll do full on mock drafts leading up to draft season. Quite frankly, I think I'm just going to do that. Like, that's going to be a lot of what the episodes that I do over the next few months are going to be. It's going to be a lot of mock drafts. I may even run out of room a little bit. And of course, if like something big happens with the Titans organization, obviously I'm going to talk about free agent signings, like any of these guys. If they got signed, I would obviously talk big about them. Anywho, let's get on with today's video or episode. Starting out with, what would I do in free agency? Well, we have about $55 million in the bank for this offseason. So I'll be honest, I don't know how on earth we have that much money, and I don't even know which one is true because I've heard both. But with the money that we have, what do we want to do? That is the question. So, first off, we got to sign a right tackle. Specifically, I think that we need to sign Jedrick Willis, right tackle for the Cleveland Browns. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to be upset about this, right? Because he isn't like amazing. He hasn't played the best football as of recent, and he just hasn't been that great in general. But you got to think about this. He has the connection with Bill Callahan, and obviously we have a dire need for right tackle right now. So, like, why not bring in a familiar face that Bill Callahan knows and obviously had coached up pretty well? Because whenever Bill Callahan was there, he was playing pretty decent. So, like, I'm interested to see if this will happen, and I do want it to happen genuinely, just because I know, again, a lot of people aren't that big of fans of Jedrick Willis, but I would way rather just have any other right tackle in the NFL right now. Yes, even that one dude for the Chiefs, whose name I can't remember right now. You know who he is. He was the former Jags right tackle. Like, I would even rather have that dude than NPF or Leroy Watson or Jalen Duncan. Any of those dudes, if they could get replaced right now and I could just click a button to get just anybody else to start at right tackle, heck, I'll even put Jelly Roll right there. Man, Jelly Roll. Yeah, I'm still a little bitter about the fact that he was sitting on the sideline for the Vandy game, was cheering for Vandy whenever he already said he was a Vols fan. Again, we don't really need to get into that. I still love his music, and he's still a very likable guy. So like, I don't hate Jelly Roll. I'm just a little bitter about that. But anywho, Jedrick Willis, best option, at least in my opinion, at right tackle. And this is realistic options, okay? Because just because we hired Borgonzi does not mean that I'm automatically thinking we're going to sign Trey Smith. Okay, I would prefer Trey Smith if he becomes available and he wants to come to the Titans. Give him all of the money that he wants. I do not care. But just please, just please don't end up as bad as L'Jarius Sneed may end up being. But still, Jedrick Willis, best realistic option for the right side of the O-line to help fix that. Okay, now, next thing, you're going to have to be patient with me whenever I say this. I want to sign a bridge quarterback. And no, I do not mean as in I do not want to draft a quarterback. You'll see that later. But I want a bridge quarterback that can help mentor whoever comes in, or just like as a solo starter. Like, it would be nice to have somebody that, Callahan can have, prove that he can win with, and then go on to go draft somebody else. Right? But like, obviously, with the number one pick, there aren't that many front offices that have enough of discipline, to say the least, to trade down and go get something that's not as flashy. Even though it may be still pretty good, it's not going to be as flashy as that sweet number one overall pick and going to get a quarterback. Now, am I saying that it's a bad thing to go after a quarterback? No. What I am saying, though, is that it is not the best idea, at least in my opinion. And I'll talk about that in another episode. But this is realistic options for the Titans. So I have 3 options right here. I have the same thing for the next signing. I have 2 that I actually like and may actually be interested in coming to Tennessee. And then I have one that's just like, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't really want him. But if it does happen, then whatever. And it's one of the better options anyway. So first off, we have Jameis Winston. Again, this would be prime television, obviously, every single week. Being able to see Jameis Winston have quotes and become one of the most memeable quarterbacks in the NFL probably would end up becoming the most memeable quarterback in Tennessee Titans history, if we're being quite frank. Actually, second, right behind Will Levis, obviously, but still, Jameis Winston, I think that he is a fun guy to bring in. I think that the players will gravitate toward him, and I also believe that he could be a good mentor for a young quarterback. He's been through a lot over the past couple of years. He's been backup, future of the Saints, then he got injured and lost that title. He was supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks at the number one pick, but then he just fell off of a cliff. Again, that's something that he and this quarterback that I'm expecting the Titans to bring in could share and have in common, as they both could bond over that. And Jameis could show him, like, hey, don't get caught off guard and just keep your eyes on the prize. I didn't keep my eyes on the prize soon enough, and you saw where that got me. So I'm here to teach you all the mistakes that I made as a number one pick, and how how you can rebound from those, or heck, even just counter those. Again, you may think that's a stupid point. I don't care. It sounded smart. Okay, let's move on. No, I'm playing, but again, Jameis Winston is my favorite option out of these 3, if I'm being quite frank with you, because it's fun and mentor. So next one, Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, again, this one I'm not as high on. This is kind of a weak list in general, because Russell Wilson, I think he would be a good mentor, but he's very short. Doesn't really have the escapability that he used to have. And what else is there? Oh yeah, he completely is the exact opposite of who I want to draft. That's probably a spoiler for who I want to draft number 1 overall, but you understand. I don't have that much to say about Russell Wilson. He is a decent option for bridge quarterback for other teams, or heck, whoever drafts the other quarterback. But for me, I don't know. He's not my personal favorite option. Okay. Now, obviously, a lot of people don't they don't really like Russell Wilson, and I understand that. But like again, he's a decent bridge quarterback, and he'll be a decent bridge quarterback for at least somebody. I can guarantee you that. Russell Wilson, fine option, not my personal favorite though. And then the one I don't really like, and I don't think they'll sign, but still probably the third best option out of everybody, Carson Wentz. Again, no, don't want Carson Wentz. I'm sorry. Again, another thing where, number one pick, this is where I went wrong type of thing. I could go on that rant again, but he's completely different from Jameis Winston in some ways, to the point where he, I don't know, there's just something about him that just screams that he is horrible at the game of football. I mean, I know that that's rich, but coming from me, but like, I don't know. Like, there's just something off about him, Like, he had a good stint in Philadelphia for a little bit. He had like one good season with the Colts. Again, I know that a lot of people give him a lot of crap for that year because of how it ended, but it was a fine season for him. And then he went on to Washington, stunk it up there, got benched for Taylor Heineke. And then for some reason, I don't know, to show you how incompetent the staff was in Washington at the time, Taylor Heineke was leading the Washington Commanders on a winning streak, and it looked like that they had a genuine chance of making the playoffs. Well, you want to know what happened? He benches Taylor Heineke, Ron Rivera specifically, benches Taylor Heineke for Carson Wentz, and they lose the game, and they're eliminated from the playoffs. That should tell you enough about what Washington was like before Adam Peters and Dan Quinn got there. But I'm getting sidetracked. Carson Wentz, again, not my favorite option. Don't think it'll happen, but it's something to keep an eye on at the very least. Okay, next thing that I want to do in free agency, go get a big-time wide receiver. You need somebody to go along with Calvin Ridley that will complement him. That'll compliment him well. Two of these dudes are older, but I would prefer somebody that's younger, obviously. But I don't know. Man, we really need another receiver, like somebody that can very obviously complement Calvin Ridley. Like, he's a smooth route runner. He's fast. He'll hit you on the deep shot, but he won't moss you. He will just outrun you in general. So, to counteract that, let's go get a physical wide receiver. First option, almost everybody's favorite option in the Titans fan base. And actually, it's not as unrealistic as you'd expect. It's T. Higgins. He's from Nashville. He said it would be ideal to come here. He has a connection with our head coach, Brian Callahan. Like, I don't see this as a complete long shot, quite frankly. If we offer him the right amount of money, I could definitely see him playing in the two-tone blue next year. Now, do I think that he will? I don't know, honestly. Like, I know that I sounded really confident just then, but like, we had a really bad first year one under Brian Callahan. And it wouldn't shock me if whoever it is, what's his name again? Oh yeah, if he was turned off by year one of Brian Callahan. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could definitely see that, and maybe he was thinking, oh, this offense that I just played in is so much better than the Callahan-led offense, quite frankly. He could be thinking that in his head. Do I think he is? Not really, but it's definitely a thought that could come through his head. But again, players will tell you that they want to win and all this stuff, and that they'll take all these big pay cuts and whatnot. They talk a lot about that. All talk, not really obviously consistent. There are a couple of people obviously in history that have done that, but whenever you take a look at it, players care about money. That's the truth. This is a money-driven business, and if we offer him the biggest bag, he will decide to come to the Tennessee Titans. And whether it is for the better or worse, it could definitely happen. And I honestly think it would be for the 100% better. And it would help whoever's going to be playing quarterback next year big time. So, next up, Chris Godwin. Older, yeah. So he's an older guy, obviously, but he's still a decent enough receiver. And I think that he would definitely be a better receiver too, compared to having, again, Love NWI. Okay. I love NWI. He's one of my favorite players on the roster right now, and I pray that this staff finds a way to bring him back and doesn't let him go to New England or anything. But we got to be real with ourselves here for a second. Not really the guy that you want at wide receiver too. Like we can be quite frank about that, correct? Like he's fun, but he's not a wide receiver too. I think that that's been made obvious enough, but still, uh, I got off topic again. Chris Godwin would be a significant upgrade. And again, I would prefer a younger receiver because we already get enough crap for having an old receiver core. But like, if we got just one young, flashy receiver, I think that would make the huge difference in this roster. Which is why Chris Godwin, again, another pretty weak list. If somebody ends up wanting a trade out, then I would prefer that. But like, again, would prefer a younger guy. But Chris Godwin, if you're trying to get a veteran in there that knows what he's doing, then yeah, that's fine. Go get him, whatever. But prefer a younger guy. And going off of that, Marquise Brown. Man, now Marquise Brown isn't that old. He's like 27 years old, right? But that doesn't mean that he's young or anything. I mean, personally, and again, I'm not interested in him because of his injury history, and also, he's not like the most insane receiver of all time. I mean, he's good, he's solid, and he would probably complement pretty well again to Calvin Ridley, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a great feeling about him, right? Like, I feel like that he would fall off of a cliff if he had to help a young QB develop. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Still, Marquise Brown would be a fine option as well. Not the best, but he would be a fine option. Again, T. Higgins is the awesome option. These other two are fine. I mean, I would be happy that we're trying to surround like this incoming quarterback or bridge quarterback with weapons, but still not like an exciting group outside of T. Higgins. I mean, Stephon Diggs is in free agency, but do you think he's going to leave Houston first off? And second off, do you really think he's going to leave for the Tennessee Titans? I think not, unless he's just really into Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders or whoever we draft. You'll hear my opinion on that soon. But I got to get some two small things out of the way. First off, we got to get some D-line depth, dude. Like, CB room, fine, has a decent amount of depth. Safety room could use some, but it's still fine. Linebacker room has a lot of young guys in there that I expect to develop into quality depth pieces. O-line, again, not like the most insane O-line of all time, but I've seen the backups be able to get it done before, so I'm not worried about that. Receiver core, pretty deep, at least in my opinion. Running back room, quite deep, quite frankly. I mean, we have four running backs that I think are at least capable. I don't think that they're awesome, but I think that Julius Chestnut and Jabari Small are capable enough. And then quarterback, we'll see how that ends up. But D-line is the most shallow position on the field. Because, like, sure, you have Sebastian Joseph Day, who may not even be here next year. Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, Harold Landry, maybe an incoming edge. But what else do you have? Do you have like Quentin Bohanna? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I can't think of anybody else, quite frankly, on the depth chart that comes just right off the head. Okay, so we need to get some serious D-line depth. You don't have to go out and get like a Josh Sweat or anything stupid like that. You don't have to go get a big name or a Chase Young or something like that. Just go get somebody that is at least okay. Like, go get a couple of okay defensive tackles, maybe like one or two decent edges. Like, actually, I think that if we did go get an edge, whether it was in the draft or in free agency, then I think that Arden Key and what's his name, Jalen Harrell, are both pretty capable depth pieces. So I'm not going to be completely up in arms about that, but I would appreciate like just one more edge rusher as a depth piece. But anywho, but not getting completely sidetracked. That was actually on topic. Yeah, D-line depth, that would be absolutely huge this offseason. Like give like a couple of 2 years, $5 million, that type of like small contract stuff, from like other teams, just going and get quality depth. Last thing for free agency. Not saying that this is like we really need to zone in on this and we really need one of these, but inside linebacker would not hurt, honestly. Like Cedric Gray, I don't know what he's going to end up becoming. I mean, maybe he could end up being fine. I mean, I hope I hope that he sees a lot of development in the offseason. Similar thing with James Williams, quite frankly. I could see James Williams being like a really good player, but he's going to need a lot of development before he gets there. Kenneth Murray, doesn't get me excited to hear Kenneth Murray's name as a starting linebacker. Jack Gibbons, he's the NWI of the linebacker corps. Quality depth piece. But he's not your linebacker 1 or 2. Jerome Baker, you kidding me? And then Luke Gifford, special teams player. And then also there's one more. Oh man, what was his name again? Shoot. I can't remember the other dude. Leave it in the comment section if you have any idea who I was trying to get to. But anywho, again, linebacker would not hurt. Just getting like a quality veteran would be big. Just something as simple as that. So, anywho, that's what I think we should do in free agency. Okay. And then for the draft, we're just going to do the first 2 picks and then we'll be done. Right. So with the number 1 pick in the draft, you probably guessed this by now, but I want the Titans to take Cam Ward. Okay. Again, do I think that trading down is like the ultimate option if we get a boatload? Yes. But we're going off of realistic options here. Right. And the most realistic option that we have right now is staying at 1, draft Cam Ward. And Cam Ward gets me excited, man. Like, just watching him, I feel like that there are some serious things, even on film, that pop. His arm strength, he has very big moments of accuracy. Like, people will tell you that that's one of his biggest problems. Just pull up his Pop-Tart Bowl highlights. I know that's against Iowa State, who could barely even beat them with their backup quarterback in. But still, you will be surprised at some of the lasers that dude threw in that game. Like, I remember when I was watching it and like live, I was just thinking, my gosh, this dude is throwing some dimes. Again, he's a little raw, and that's why I said go get a bridge quarterback earlier, because I don't think he's capable of starting day 1. I think you need to at least let him sit for like not even a full year, just like half the year, and I think he'll be fine. So go get somebody like that, and I think that he could end up being a very great quarterback. And I think that he fits what Borgonzi wants. I think Borgonzi wants somebody that the Titans can develop on the side, and he can make look and he can like develop, and then he comes out and has some big years, So that's why I think Cam Ward will end up being the pick. And honestly, I prefer it. I know that there are some Shedeur fans out there, but I'm sorry. I cannot overlook Cam Ward's arm strength, mobility, potential accuracy, and it's not like he's tiny either. Like, he's got decent height on him, decent weight. Like, I don't know. I really want Cam Ward. Like, I'm admitting it right now. Like, I remember I've gone through waves of this. There was a period of time where I was just like, I want Cam Ward all the way. And I went through, man, but does he fit the system? But now I'm just like, I don't care. Go get him. But anyway, I was going to do just that one and leave it off there. But then, I realized there's some mystery with the second pick. And obviously we'll talk about other things. But in this, I think that the Titans should draft. This may be recency bias, but Jack Sawyer, edge out of Ohio State. Ohio State, first off, congratulations to them for winning the national championship. That's big for Ryan Day's legacy. I'll talk a little bit about that on the Vols rundown next week. But still, Jack Sawyer, he's very solid, right? Like, he has been an absolute force on that defense, had a big game against us. especially against Oregon. And he obviously had the biggest play potentially of the playoffs for Ohio State whenever he strip sacked Quinn Ewers and took it all the way back to the house. And that sealed the game right there. Like, there was some thought of like, okay, Quinn Ewers doesn't get this 4th and goal, but if they do end up miraculously getting the ball back, they could end up doing that. But then we knew it was game over right as that happened. So that's just my opinion. But I will also say there's a second option here. I would not mind Trey Harris at all. That wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Like, I would love that dude. Also, Restrepo. Like, I don't know about him because I think he's a little bit on the older side. But I do really like I really do like him because he would have a connection with Cam Ward, but I would prefer Trey Harris just because I see the AJ Brown in him, right? And we've been begging for a new AJ Brown for a long time, and I just see that in him. I saw that in Jonathan Mingo, and that obviously did not age well, but still, I do think that that would be really good too. But I would prefer Edge and Jack Sawyer as the guy because I think that he brings just a presence, honestly, if you draft him. And yes, I would expect us to trade down with somebody, and then we could go get a 3rd-round pick, and then who knows what we do with that. But anyway, that is what I want the Titans to do this offseason. Okay, I know there's going to be a lot of talk about the GM opening press conference, and rightly so. But I will say the first thing that I'm going to do whenever I get back home from working out, I'm assuming probably, the first thing that I'm going to do immediately is record a video about what I thought about the introductory press conference. Okay. So anyway, that's today's episode. I have Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok all under the Titans Rundown. And if you look in the description, I also have the Vols Rundown down there if y'all want to go check that out, or you just prefer the Tennessee Vols. But anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been a rundown of your Tennessee Titans and what they should do in the offseason. I love y'all, and tighten up.